The Joe Rogan Experience.
Likewise, we can think about shipwrecks, right? Graham has mentioned that the bulk of marine archaeology has focused on shipwrecks and not the continental shelves. And so the thing is, at this point, we have something like 3 million shipwrecks from around the world. And so one of my questions for Graham is, if this is a global civilization with ships, why is it that we don't have shipwrecks from this global civilization? I see this as a big, big problem. If we're looking for a civilization that's traversing the oceans, we should find these shipwrecks. And similarly, these shipwrecks are located near the coast. They're located on the submerged continental shelves. We are actually exploring these submerged continental shelves in detail. We're able to find scattered ephemeral shipwrecks, but not monuments of some sort of civilization.
And the shipwrecks, what's the oldest one that we've found so far?
Well, there was one that was just published from about, I think it was about 7,000 years ago off the coast of Italy that I saw. Something around there would say what I'd say is around the oldest that we have, yeah.
And at what point in time these are mostly wooden boats?
Yeah, these are mostly wooden boats, yeah.
At what point in time would they deteriorate completely?
Well, so actually underwater environments are really good for the preservation of organic remains, which is why we actually get wood in waterlogged environments rather than on land, for example. You either need to be in a really dry environment for wood to preserve, or a really wet environment, or with those seeds I was showing, it needs to be charred. So in general, wood will decay. So, in a lot of underwater environments, it'll just preserve as long as it's in homeostasis.
Which is why that explorer's boat that sank, that hit, whose boat was that? Do you know the boat I'm talking about?
I don't know.
Famous Explorer is this beautiful wooden boat that's almost completely intact at the bottom of the ocean. I think it hit an iceberg.
Yeah.
And which Explorer was that, Jamie? Do you remember that, dude? There's an amazing video of it. It's amazing. Like, they're just zooming in on this boat, and it just looks almost exactly like it looked when it sank, because the water's freezing cold. That's it right there. Look at that. Ernest Shackleton.
Oh, yeah,
Isn't
okay,
that
I have seen
incredible?
this, yeah.
It's incredible. Like, the whole boat. Just imagine what it would have been to been on that boat back then.
I mean, the preservation underwater is amazing. There's this shipwreck off the coast of Italy that I just presented what was on the Bad Boy of Science YouTube about shipwrecks and stuff. And there's still the vine netting that was holding the Roman cargo was still preserved.
Wow.
And so the just underwater preservation is just freaky.
And is it would it stay that way for 20,000 years, you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's this idea that things just decay the older they are, and that's really not true. It depends on the burial environment that they're in. So taphonomy is what archaeologists use to study how things survive and how they are there. And so typically when things are buried, they're very stable. Or when they're, sitting, it depends on where you are on the bottom of the ocean, but typically it's very, very stable. In fact, the worst place to be is the tidal zone. So when sea level rise is very slow and an area is stuck in that tidal zone, things will get battered. But if things are deeply deposited quickly, or sea level rise is very quick, that actually helps preserve stuff. And so that's how we can still find these kind of shipwrecks and ice age sites and other sort of settlements underwater.
Now, what about the shifting of sediment at the bottom of the ocean when you're dealing with things like 10, 20,000 years ago, 30,000 years ago?
Yeah, so there's actually, I was just talking with Jessica Cook-Hale out of Bradford about this. And actually, so she's done some studies off the coast of Florida of sort of hurricanes that are coming in today, because she's excavating Stone Age shell mounds there. And it turns out, actually, that the hurricanes coming in today really don't disturb them much at all. Yeah, she's published on that. So obviously it's going to...
So it's mostly surface?
Yeah, it's going to depend on the
water.
specific environment is the answer.
Okay.
So certain environments, it's not going to preserve. Others, it will. Yeah, it's variable.